So a trap a lot of guys fall into early on in their training career is basically consuming way too many calories than they need in order to build muscle. And you want to know how I know? Because I did exactly that. So back in 2014, when I was 9 kilos heavier than I am now, so around 10 years ago, I remember being genuinely excited when I woke up in the morning, checked my morning body weight, and I saw a 90 on the scale for the very first time. For a bit of context, this morning, I was 81 kilos, and now with a lot more muscle than back then. So you can just imagine how much more body fat I had back in the day. Probably 11 kilos more or so. So a significant amount. And you know what? I honestly thought I was doing the right thing. In my head, I wasn't being like a complete idiot and doing whatever I wanted. It was a well thought out choice. And remember, back then, I was still a qualified professional and I studied what other people were doing. I did my research and I came to the conclusion that I needed to be in a big calorie surplus every single day in order to build a lot of muscle. And I was probably wrong thinking about it now. So the problem is I was taking advice from the wrong people, basically professional bodybuilders or people who competed seriously, because these are the people who have the loudest voices on social media. So I was just naturally drawn to their content, and they did the whole big bulk followed by a big diet approach. And for them, it's actually probably a good idea because it aligned pretty closely with their goals to be competitive in bodybuilding. But for 22-year-old skinny Harry who wanted to build some muscle and look good, and who'd only been training seriously for a few years, probably not a great idea, because I thought I needed to accumulate a lot of body fat in order to build muscle. And even though I achieved that, hitting 90 kg that one morning, being super happy about it, obviously a large amount of that was body fat, and a small amount of it was muscle. And I probably could have built almost the same amount of muscle in that time period, but without accumulating all of that body fat. Damn. I basically messed up. I remember watching YouTube videos about how to create the most optimal 1000 calorie protein shake you could, and only eating calorie dense foods to get the energy in. Having things like a full fat Coke in my intra workout and literally pouring olive oil into my protein shakes, then chugging it down. If you know, you know. And what I didn't realize at the time is that unless you are a professional bodybuilder or someone who competes regularly in physique competitions, you do not need a big calorie surplus to build muscle. A small one is fine. And without getting too technical in this video, you can more or less max out your body's muscle building potential with about 100 or 200 calories extra per day on top of what you burn already. Because this is around the level where the muscle building process actually happens. So anything above and beyond that isn't going to build you any more muscle. Those extra calories are just going to be stored as body fat. So if you want to do the whole lean bulk thing, which is super popular for guys, because you're able to maintain a good physique whilst putting on tissue, 100 to 200 calories extra is the sweet spot. Now, just before I get pulled up in the comments, there is a disclaimer coming. Because despite what people like me will tell you, usually personal trainers, there are actually performance benefits to putting on more body fat. Look at Tyson Fury, for example. He is the epitome of what a male looks like at peak physical performance. And he's not lean. He has a good amount of body fat on him. But he needs that to protect his organs from the punches, and so he can train really hard for his fights. Rugby players, another great example. They're not super lean. They need that extra little bit of fat, again like Tyson, to protect their organs and so they can perform at their sport. A bit like how a professional bodybuilder needs that extra fat to perform really well in their off season before they diet super hard for their show. So a few benefits of having more body fat. First one, it gives your joints more cushioning, helping your leverages and allowing you more protection. Basically speaking, the heavier you are, the more weight you're able to throw around in the gym. Guys that can bench press 3 plates aside, 140 kilos, probably aren't weighing 70 kilos. So in theory, those heavier weights that you're able to use if you have more body fat will translate to more muscle growth over time. Because looking back on it, for myself, back in 2014, relatively speaking, I was pretty strong because I had all that body fat on me. And if I had that same amount of body fat now, if I was 10 kg more now, I would be stronger in the gym. But just thinking about it, maybe I need to do a separate video on this because I could talk about this for hours. Second one, up until a point, healthy levels of body fat actually help you hormonally. Because when you're super lean, your hormones won't be in a good place. Your natural levels of testosterone will probably plummet, and your hunger signals, leptin, ghrelin, will be all over the shop as well. But on the other hand, if your body fat goes up too high, then the opposite happens. It won't be good for your testosterone and your hunger signals will get messed up as well. So there's a balance, but up until that point, there is a benefit to having more body fat. Third one, your recovery will definitely be better when you have a surplus of stored energy on your body. Because just in case you have a few days of lower calories, your body has that extra energy to use in the gym for performance. And this is a luxury that's not really afforded when you're super lean. But leaving those benefits aside for a second, getting too fat on your bulk just gives you way more work when it's time to get lean again. Because you want to be at the stage where you only have to lose a few kgs of body fat when it's time to get lean. Maybe 5 kg or so, definitely not 20 kilos. Because you might have so much body fat to lose, you may not even lose it. Because there's no guarantee that you'll be able to get it off. I've seen this so many times before. Because just thinking about it, if you need to diet for 20 weeks in order to lose the 20 kilos of body fat, probably more in reality, well, that's a tall order and it's going to be super difficult. I don't know too many people that are able to get 20 kilos of body fat off. So in hindsight, you may as well just not put the body fat on in the first place. It will save you all the hassle and also lost muscle building time. Because when you have to diet for 20 weeks, that's 20 weeks where you're not building muscle. Because dieting down for that long almost certainly will result in muscle loss. You won't be able to hang on to all the muscle you built when you're dieting for 20 weeks. I'm just using these numbers as an example, by the way, but yeah, you get what I mean. So you could end up losing all the extra muscle you worked so hard to build anyway. Complete waste of time. It also just really doesn't look that good to have lots of body fat, obviously. A bit is okay, sure. The whole filling out your t-shirt look, you're not going to look too gaunt, your muscles are going to be full of glycogen so they'll look bigger. But if you're a guy and you're well north of 20% body fat and having to explain to everyone that you haven't fallen off the fitness bandwagon, you're just bulking, bro, I sometimes just suggest to people to aim for maintenance calories, knowing full well that they're probably going to go a little bit over anyway. From weekends, holidays, nights out, snacks here and there. And honestly, if you're just a regular fitness fanatic who wants to look good, feel good, perform well, build some muscle, then that's probably your best shout, aiming for maintenance calories. Aiming for roughly the same amount of energy that you burn in any given day or week. Or the other option, go 100 to 200 calories over, so that you can tick the muscle building box, whilst keeping a lid on the fat gain. Not completely possible, but you know what I mean. So I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching, hit the thumbs up if you liked it, and I'll see you in the next one.